Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for another video on penetration testing. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and smash the like button if you enjoy my videos. So for the past few months, I've been working on developing my web application penetration testing skills with OWASP Juice Shop, which is a self-hosted, intentionally vulnerable web application built by the OWASP Foundation. The application itself is built with modern web frameworks, Angular on the front end and Express.js on the back end, which is great to demonstrate how web vulnerabilities don't just exist because of legacy framework choices. The same vulnerabilities that exist in PHP web applications also exist in full stack JavaScript web applications. The experience itself has been invaluable, spending sleepless nights digging through web application logic to find and exploit the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities and many other vulnerabilities that exist in modern day web applications has taken my skill set to the next level. The application is designed with CTF style challenges divided into 6 categories, 1 star to 6 star in difficulty. To see these challenges, you would have to solve the first challenge of OWASP Juice Shop, which is finding the scoreboard. Finding the scoreboard is simple enough. Just open up your browser inspector and go to the sources tab, where you'll find a main.js file that hasn't been properly obfuscated and is really simple to read through and understand the functionality of the web application. If we do a string search here and search for score, you'll find some variables and methods that point to the scoreboard, but you'll also find, if you keep hitting search, an array of objects that includes many routes that point to different pages of the web application, including the scoreboard. So if we copy this and head over to the scoreboard, we'll solve that challenge, and we can also take a look at all the other challenges that are included in OWASP Juice Shop. One of the most common vulnerabilities you'll find in OWASP Juice Shop is cross-site scripting. From DOM cross-site scripting, where the payload only exists on the client, to reflected cross-site scripting, where the requested payload is reflected from the server back to the client, and persisted cross-site scripting, where the payload is stored in the database and returned to the client from a front-end request. If you return to the web application, we can find an instance of one of these cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. First, log into the web application as any user. Then add some items to your basket. After you've added some items to your basket, proceed through the checkout. Then when you get to the order confirmations page, click on track orders. You'll see a string in the ID parameter of the URL that's reflected back on the web page. So this looks like some data that's been sent to the server and then reflected back on the web page from the server-side response. If we inject a malicious iframe into the ID parameter and hit enter, you'll see that a cross-site scripting payload pops up on the screen. Then if you go back to the scoreboard, you'll see that the reflected cross-site scripting challenge is solved, which confirms that our payload was sent to the server and then reflected back to the client. In a real-world scenario, you would have to send your reflected cross-site scripting payload to your victim in order to bear fruit from the exploit. When your victim opens the URL, any JavaScript you've included in the URL will execute in their browser. In addition to cross-site scripting, SQL injections can be some of the juiciest vulnerabilities you'll find in a web application. From dumping database columns to credential theft and executing payloads on the server that will give you access to the internal network, SQL injections can be some of the severest vulnerabilities you'll find. Now, Juice Shop is littered with SQL injection vulnerabilities. So one of the simplest things you can do to test a SQL injection vulnerability is use a single apostrophe to close a query. Now, if we send this request, you'll notice in the response of the login route, we get a SQLite error, which also solves the error handling challenge. So we know this email input is vulnerable to SQL injection, and now we can do fancy things like try to log in with the admin account. We append a or true and comment out the rest of the query to handle the password section. So if we click login, then head over to the scoreboard, the 2-star login admin challenge is solved. We can also do some fancy things like use union queries to dump all the user credentials, then have access to the web application as any user in the database. While cross-site scripting and SQL injection can be some of the most severe vulnerabilities you'll find in a web application, IDOR, or Insecure Direct Object Reference, has made the news headlines lately. Where in June of 2025, security researchers discovered a breach of McDonald's hiring systems, where hackers were able to breach the system with the password 123456, then use IDOR or Insecure Direct Object Reference to access up to 64 million job applications, including personal information such as names, emails, phone numbers, and virtual interview scripts. It's incidents like these that demonstrate the severity of web application vulnerabilities. We can exploit this vulnerability in OWASP Juice Shop if you first log in as any user. Then add some items to your basket. Open up your network tab, then head over to your basket. You'll see a direct object reference of number 6, and when you expect the header, you'll see it's made in the URL with a GET request. So we'll go over to the application tab and look at the session storage, where you'll see a bid with the direct object reference. So if we try and change this to 5, then click enter and refresh the page, we can see the basket of another user, and the view basket challenge is also solved, demonstrating that we can change the object reference in the session storage to view data from other users. These are just a few of the vulnerabilities you'll find in OWASP Juice Shop. The application includes the entire gambit of the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, as well as additional vulnerabilities that appear in modern day web applications. Overall, I would say that OWASP Juice Shop is a great learning experience, but it just scratches the surface. If you want to go pro with your skill set and make some money, I would recommend you get involved in bug bounty programs and even get certified. If you'd like to learn more about web application penetration testing with OWASP Juice Shop, I've included a link down below in the description of my GitHub repository that includes over 70 solutions to the OWASP Juice Shop challenges. In addition, linked right here is an entire playlist of OWASP Juice Shop challenge solutions. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.